Hi there, welcome to Hey Sound Guy, a podcast where I'll be peeking behind the curtains of the wonderful world of music. Each week I'll be speaking to sound engineers, music industry professionals and musicians, share some fun stories from the road and get to know them a little bit better. Now, my next guest is a fantastic bass player. I've known him for about 10 years, since he was starting at the late shows at Ronnie Scott's whilst studying in Birmingham. He eventually became so busy that he got his degree early and started working as a bass player. And since this whole madness of the lockdown started, he's in the same boat as pretty much everybody else, where we don't have any work. But he's decided to capitalize on his strengths and his love for food. He has started a pizza shop pop-up. He does a couple of nights in Acton, and he's got one night in Chiswick. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a great pleasure. Please welcome my good friend, Tim Thornton.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
How are you, man?
Yeah, good. It's been a big change in life, hasn't it?
It has been. It has been. It's been a super weird. How long has it been? March 19th, I think. I did my last gig at Ronnie's. It was Ashley Henry, but that was to an empty club as well.
Yeah.
And then the next day the lockdown went in, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
But I think we've both been quite busy.
Yeah.
So tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, I'm Tim Thornton. I have been a freelance jazz bass player, mostly double bass, for the last, let's see, how old am I? I'm 31 now, so I guess 10 years or so since I left university. So we met Ronnie Scott, where you work on the sound desk, and I...
it's about 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Probably, yeah. Probably when... so I've been working there fairly consistently, and we've spent a lot of time hanging out there and at the Dog and Duck down the road.
Indeed.
And then when this lockdown started and we were had all our work taken away from us, I decided to act on my passion for food and cooking. So I started off selling pizzas on my driveway as a pop-up to raise some money for the NHS, and it's just kind of spiraled from there. I ended up meeting the owners of a wine shop in Acton, and so I'm now there 4 days a week, and on Tuesdays I do a pop-up at a Hogarth Health Club as well in Chiswick. So that's kind of taken over my life, whilst there's not really many gigs. I've done a couple of gigs since this lockdown kind of eased. So I did one at Ronnie's, and we did one at Southwark Cathedral with Leo Richardson's quartet. But yeah, there's definitely not work flowing in at the moment for the music side of things. So
well, it's great that you've that you've capitalized on that. I mean, as horrible as this whole thing has been, it kind of feels like it was almost a bit of a blessing in disguise. It kind of brought out our other passions and showed the resilience of people like yourself. Others we know just kind of went into a hole and hiding, and they were watching movies and doing whatever. But most of the people that we knew. Way back when I was a young man. There's been a lot of, especially musicians, especially the people from Ronnie's, have all been quite active, and they've been doing online things and the video things and stuff. So it's good to see that everybody's kind of made the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not really much that we can do about it. So it's a good thing that people have capitalized on their strengths, as you did.
Yeah, I think the first when it first started, I was actually I was quite happy to have a break from music for a bit. I think I'd got to the point where I did a lot of gigs that I really enjoyed, and then had to supplement just financially. I've got a daughter, as you understand,
Mm-hmm.
I was having to supplement the financial side of it by doing a lot of gigs, like function gigs, wedding gigs, which I didn't want to do, but I was doing it just because I needed the money.
It pays the rent.
Yeah, and that's obviously not ideal in anyone's world. So I was very happy to have a break for about a month. I really enjoyed just doing nothing, and then I think my personality is kind of I want to be kept busy with something. So after a bit of a break, I kind of started feeling a bit itchy, and I want to do something now. So this is hopefully something which I can carry on, and will be a way that I can run two businesses side by side, and only take the music work that I really want to do, and enjoy everything that I do in life.
Yeah, see, therein lies the blessing, right?
Yeah.
Because even when it does go back, not knowing when that's going to be, but even when it does start up again, it's not going to be as it was before, up until the lockdown. I don't think anybody's going to be as busy as they were for probably maybe a year or so, until everybody sort of gets back into the swing, if it ever gets back into the swing.
Well,
so we gotta supplement with other things, and if it's something that you're passionate about, I think that makes it all the better, because it's like taking the gigs that you like. It brings you joy, and you're showcasing, not just showcasing, but you're working with the things that you have, your talent, your abilities, and you can pick more of the things that you can, and not worry about the days that you're not going to work, because like you said, you've got 2 gigs now back to back, but apart from that, you haven't had anything.
No, and I just had the only thing I had left was a 4-week tour of the US in February, March
next year.
Which that just got pulled today. Obviously, we kind of saw it coming, but that was the only thing that kind of big chunk of work that I had left. So there's no music work left.
No, there isn't, and it's a shame, because I don't think people really realize the importance of music and culture, if you will, plays and etc. It's been around forever, so it's probably as old as prostitution. People need to be entertained, so there's going to be troubadours, and there's going to be traveling poets and all these sorts of things, and nowadays that's who we are. We're the entertainment for people. Like people often ask, when do you work? I was like, I work when other people play, and they do their day job, and then they come out and they come and have a little jolly, listening to music, watching a gig and so on. So that's when we do our thing. So I mean, it's kind of the whole online thing. I kind of perceive as almost a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because people aren't missing it, and they're getting it for free.
Yeah, it's very
most of the time.
So
they don't realize the impact of not having it.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, it has given everybody an opportunity for more exposure, because people have more time to spend at home, spend on the internet, spend watching stuff, getting to know things. So it's a difficult way up there.
Yeah.
But I think if you do something that you enjoy and you do it with passion, you're going to pick the fruits of it, like you're doing with the pizzas. I want to get back to that in a little bit, but first let's stick with the music. I love your playing, and and I always have. You've got this. I don't know. You just look so comfortable and laid back when you're on stage, and you just make everybody comfortable. It's like you bring a good vibe. So it's very enjoyable to watch you play with whoever you play with. And whenever I see you come in, I'm like, yes, we're gonna have a good time. Where did the music start for you? What was the bug that bit you?
Both my parents are musicians. So
oh, right.
My dad's a pianist. He plays jazz. My mum is now retired, but was a great opera singer. She's retired from singing, but still very active teaching. She's on the board of the NO.
Right.
So she's still very much involved in
Fantastic.
the music industry. So I just grew up, and their parents were both musical as well.
Wow.
Amateur, but
Amen.
so there was just always surrounded by music growing up.
That's great. And with your dad being a pianist, you needed a bassist, right? So you kind of fell in there.
Yeah.
Is bass your first instrument?
I wanted to play guitar because that's a cool one. So my dad got me a guitar, and then whilst all the kids at school were, when I was growing up, it was S Club 7 and that kind of stuff. So whilst all the kids at school were listening to that, I was listening to the Beatles. My dad would teach me a Beatles song on the guitar, and he'd leave me to practice it and come back, and I'd be playing the bass line on the lowest string. So I think something grabbed.
It's a natural progression.
Yeah. And he kept saying, I think we should buy you a bass. You seem to want to play the bass. And I was like, no, I'll never get a girl playing the bass. I want to keep the guitar. He said, but you're playing the bass lines on a guitar. So eventually I caved, and he got me a bass. So I've tried a couple of other instruments over the years, saxophone and piano and stuff. Have
you ever considered doing like Bernhoff does? Just put the E and the A bass strings on a guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different discipline. That guy's insane.
Yeah, then
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Then you have to play chords as well.
And get a looper.
Yeah. So I started on bass guitar, and I really enjoyed that. And then when my mum was singing at the Met in New York, me and my dad went over for a couple of weeks, and we'd go and see jazz gigs and stuff. And we went to the Iridium Jazz Club. We went to the Iridium and went to see McCoy Tyner play.
Awesome.
With I think it was Kenny Garrett, Brian Blade, and Charlotte Moffat on bass.
Jesus.
And I came out of that gig and I was like, Dad, I want one of those big basses. So that's how I
the jazz coffin.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up on double bass. And then I think it's.
How old were you then?
I guess maybe 14 or something.
Okay.
So I didn't really, had a couple of lessons here and there from Steve Watts. I went over to his house a few times. I didn't really have proper technique lessons that much on double bass. So when I auditioned for universities, I was auditioning on bass guitar, and then when I got to, I went to Birmingham Conservatoire. When I got there, then I decided to fully transition to being mostly, because the stuff I wanted to play was that kind of swing stuff. Ray Brown was my hero, and it just doesn't sound right on a bass guitar.
Not quite. And now you're playing on a Ray Brown copy at Ronnie's.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly.
That's such a beautiful guitar, man. That guy,
Lawrence Dixon,
he did such a good job.
Yeah.
Really.
He's the man.
He's fantastic. I mean, shout out to Lawrence, man. Yeah. Great bass. I don't think I've ever heard a complaint. I lie. I have. But it's one of those, just somebody had a late night and a cancelled flight or something, and they were just bitching. But apart from that, it's,
it's because it's a house bass, it gets reset up every time someone else comes in. Someone comes over from the States and they want to raise the action, lower the action, change the strings, And when a bass never is allowed to settle, of course it suffers. Every time I go in and see Lawrence for my own bass, he always says, "What's the Ronnie's bass doing?" I've occasionally said it needs servicing, and he's called up and said,
Yeah.
Word has reached me that my work needs servicing. So.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well.
He takes pride in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just tell Miles. He'll sort it out.
Yeah.
Good old Miles Ashton. Yeah. So you went to the Birmingham Conservatoire. How old were you then?
18.
Okay.
Yeah, and the 4-year course. In my 3rd year, that's when the Late Show started at Ronnie.
Yeah. Michael
Moenzo started that.
Yeah. Some shorts.
Yeah.
I remember that night.
Yeah.
Come running in. You were super late and you didn't have time to change.
No, it wasn't my fault. He'd not booked a band, or he'd double booked a band on a different day.
That's
what
he
was trying to. He called it like it started at 11, and he called it like 10:30. Like, I need a band here now. Can you get here now? And I'd been out at a barbecue with Emma Smith, the singer. We'd been out at a barbecue, so I was wearing shorts, flip-flops, t-shirt. So he called me and said, "Can you come here now?" I was like, "I can. I'm half cut and I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops. I don't have time to go home and get changed." He's like, "That's fine, just get here. We just need a band."
Brilliant.
So everyone else who'd been called, I think, was at home or appropriately dressed. Everyone else turned up, and I was,
just wear a suit just in case.
Yeah. My teacher, Arnie Samaji, used to tell me a story about his bass player who wore a tux all day, every day, because he was always so pissed that he couldn't remember if he had a gig, where it was, when he was supposed to be there. So he just wore a tux the whole time, just in case.
That sounds like jazz.
Said, "Where are you?" He was like, "Oh, I'm on my way, don't worry, I'm already dressed."
Just probably sleeps in the tux as well. Brilliant. Just passes out and then, "Oh yes, I'm on my way."
Yeah.
Oh, man, those are the worst. Those calls and you're like, shit.
Yeah. So, so that, in my 3rd year was when that started. I think the first gig I did there was with Steve Fishwick, and then next week I came and did one week. And also in those days you used to often do the whole week. It was I think it was Monday to Thursday, wasn't it?
Thursday,
yeah. And he'd often book either 2 nights or 4 nights with a band. So I basically, during that year was when I started meeting everyone in the London scene and doing a lot of the late shows.
Fuck. He booked you for a week after that Shorts incident, and then where were you going with that? Or have you lost your train of thought?
No. So and I don't think there was an official finish time. Now the Late Show finishes 2:30, 3 at the latest.
3 at the latest, yeah.
I don't think when we started there was, or people were less strict about it.
Well, it was always a 3 o'clock license.
Yeah. But we were often, maybe we went on a couple of minutes afterwards, but then everyone would hang backstage or go to, what was it called, around the corner? That Valentino's.
Yeah.
So I'd always, and then I was, trying to hang out and meet as many people as possible and stuff. So I spent that year finishing. I'd leave Soho at 4:30, 5 in the morning often, and then I'd have to drive back to Birmingham. So I'd be getting back to Birmingham at 8 in the morning, go to my flat, have a shower, and then go to a class. So after a year of doing that, I thought, what's the point of a music education, especially a jazz performance course, is to get you to the point where you're good enough to work professionally, right?
Yeah.
And I was working so much that I couldn't study because I was there was no time to sleep. So I went and spoke to the head of the course, Jeremy Price, who was very understanding, and he was always very helpful with.
Here you go. There's your degree. Well done. See you later.
Well, so it was a BMUS honours degree, and you got the honours for the last year. So after 3 years, I could have the BMUS degree without the honours. So I spoke to him and said, I'm so busy, I can't make it to class. Surely that's kind of the point of this. And he said, I think you should just go and do it. And and then 7 or 8 years after that, they gave me an honorary membership to Birmingham Conservatoire.
Oh, brilliant!
So I did get the honours without having to do the last year in the end.
Nice one. Well done. Worked out well.
Yeah, so that's why I only did 3 years of a 4-year degree, and that's how I started meeting everyone on the London scene, and it was always a dream to play at Ronnie's. So it's still my favourite place to play. I love coming in, and all the team, all of you sound guys. It's always great when I walk in and see you or Tim or Charlie there. I've always loved working as part of a team, and that's why I'm very much enjoying another hospitality job now, because I love working with the guys who work there as well.
Yeah, you're part of the chain.
Yeah,
but as any chain works, without that link, it's not anything to hold on to. So
if you piss off the sound guy, they've got so much control over over what everyone else is hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one of my colleagues once had a slight altercation with one of the house drummers when we were going through after Chris Dagley died. There was a few drummers. There were sort of.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and so one of my colleagues, who shall remain nameless, delayed his monitor by half a second. And
that's great.
James Pearson. He was just the whole time like, "You're behind. What's going on?" It's like, but. So yeah,
that's great.
He never did that again. Yeah, no, we kind of do have a bit of control.
Yeah.
But I mean, we don't normally do those sort of things. That's just naughty. But yeah, we do have that power.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. Ronnie's is like a family.
Yeah. It's the only club in the UK that's like that. I guess Ronnie's and Pizza Express are the two like big clubs, but Pizza Express, you don't feel welcomed when you go there. Like, the staff hate you. They don't want you to be there.
It's kind of,
they don't want to. They'll feed you, but they don't want to. You never feel like when you walk into Ronnie's and there's people going like, "Hey, good to see you. Let's set up and then go and get a pint."
Exactly.
You never feel like that.
Yeah, it's kind of. Have you ever played at Boysdale in Canary Wharf?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. it's that same sort of thing. And I mean, I've been there since they opened, but recent happenings has made me less inclined to go back.
Yeah.
Never really liked the Canary Wharf vibe. It feels very plastic to me.
Yeah, it's weird.
Lots of suits and lots of people who've got more money than sense or manners.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a trend in Canary Wharf when you've got a bit of dosh, your manners just go out the window.
Yeah. There's that club, the Ned, as well. I don't know if you've ever been there. They've got their own kind of in-house team, but there's 3-4 bands a day on there. They've got this podium in the middle. And when it first opened, it was quite nice because you've got all these restaurants around it, and you're playing in the middle. And then it seems like somehow the bouncers just started letting the cocaine through the door. And then it became the kind of city boys playground.
Gotcha.
There's certain tables with ladies for rent on, and
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole thing has just kind of dissolved into this chaos. When you do a Saturday night gig there, it's just insane.
I can imagine.
Horrible, that gig.
Yeah. Speaking of ladies of the night, I did a faux pas once. I don't know if you know about this. And honestly, I had the best intentions, but you know how these things go. One of the female artists that sort of frequent Ronnie's, she usually does about a week, and I used to do the sound for her every time she came around. We always got along really well. And I did the intro, and so here she is, the lady of tonight, and the whole crowd erupted
Yeah.
in laughter. And I'm like, no, wait, you guys, you're not following me. She's a star. She's the one you're here to see. She's the lady of tonight, not the lady of the night. And that was the last time we worked together.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
she
took offense.
Oh.
She did. And this was only the Tuesday, and she was there till the Saturday. So you can imagine the work conditions were less than ideal.
Cut it out. Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's it's I honestly have a sense of humor about that.
Yeah, it's just there was. I mean, everybody else laughed and had a good time, and the band were. Yeah. She even made a comment when she came on, and she said, "Well, everybody's got to have a second job, right?"
Right.
And I thought she took it on the chin.
Yeah.
But then halfway through the set, she left the stage to come and tell me her disappointment.
Really?
During her gig, which it must have really bothered her. I mean, I honestly didn't mean anything bad by it. I was trying to big her up. But sometimes you gotta stick to the script a little bit more with some people more than with others.
That's funny.
Some people like the banter and the funny intros, but some people don't.
Yeah.
There's a certain house drummer that as when Miles Ashton does the introductions, he does things like James Mercedes-Benz Pearson, and he introduced the drummer, and he made a alteration to his surname, and after the first song as well, he came and he said to him, "No, you don't. This is my professional name, and you don't mess around with this, and this is how people are going to see me." And I was like, okay, sorry, I didn't know your skin was that thin. Yeah. But it happens, unfortunately. Right, so then you did the late shows more and more. You did your 3 years, and finally got your honors. An honorary honors, which is fantastic. And you're not from London, though, are you?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah, I grew up in. I was born in Shepherd's Bush and then grew up in Chiswick.
All right.
Yeah, West London.
Right.
Yeah.
So you should name. Bush is already taken, but maybe you'd name your band Tim's Bush.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, Tim's Bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, get yourself a trio or a quartet. All hairy guys. Brilliant. And then you started playing at Ronnie's more often, doing supports and lates, and it's just kind of blossomed from there into quite a busy musical career. So tell me, you said that you started doing some function gigs and stuff to kind of supplement the jazz.
I mean, that's always been I've definitely noticed over the last 10 years a decline in the amount of work that's around. So when I first moved to London, I could easily do 10, 12 gigs a week. I was doing 2, sometimes 3 a night. That's just doesn't seem to be around anymore. And it was great for learning, meeting people, learning your trade by just repetition over and over again. Man. And they were always 40 quid, 50 quid each. So you had to do 3 a night to make any money. Yeah. And then, when you get a wedding gig or something like that, and then it seems the less people listen to you, the more you get paid. That seems to be the rule.
Yeah, and playing other people's music pays more than playing your own.
Yeah. So that's always been around, I think, for all time for jazz musicians, that you go and do those things to make some money, but you don't really want to, I guess, until you get to that super high tier where you're on the European touring festival circuit, etc. The kind of music I play is kind of swing. The kind of is very American influenced, and there's so many people who are great at that, and the European touring festival circuit wants those American guys to come over, and they've got the funding for it. completely understandably, they're the best in the world at what they do. So it's not
but
not
you know,
at all
not to scoff at UK musicians, because I tell you what, man,
no.
There's a healthy pool of.
But if you look at, you know, Orlando Fleming, Will Vinson, those guys, you move over to New York, of course, then you get the opportunity to work and play with the best in the world. And then when you call the festivals in Europe, you're a New York artist calling. You're worth a lot more.
Yeah, it gives you a bit more leverage.
You're worth a lot more money then. So yeah, I did toy with moving to New York for a bit, and then I ended up getting married and having a kid and settling down here. My life is here. So yeah, I think it's quite difficult to then move your career onto the level where you can make enough money just from doing the gigs you want to do. If the style of music you play is more conventional, shall we say, rather than a lot of the English musicians who are British musicians who are able to get onto that scene probably have a lot more of a unique thing going.
A lot of crossover.
Yeah,
a lot of hip hop crossover.
Well, that too, but then also, you know, people like Kit Downs, I think, is one of the greatest and most original and inventive pianists in the world. You know, because of his originality, he's able to break.
He went to New York for a while as well, didn't he? Or did he not?
I don't think so. No.
No, he didn't go to the States at some stage.
I don't think he lived there, as far as I know.
Okay.
Anyway, you know, so I'm aware of the limitations of the style of music that I gravitate towards, but that's just how it is, isn't it?
Hey man, as long as you enjoy doing it, you know.
Yeah.
I saw one of the funniest memes. Obviously, a sound engineer friend of mine posted this, like, you know, the saying of, if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And it was like, not a day, and it was scratched out as like, you'll never work a day in 2020. It's kind of funny, because yeah, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let's move on to Zio Tim's Pizzeria. Where did
you can pronounce it because you have
I've got the Italian.
I had a guy called me from the accounting software that I use for it this morning, and he said, "Can I speak to Zio Tim's Pizzeria?"
Brilliant.
Like, you can't even say pizzeria.
It's like, dude, come on, you're not even trying.
Yeah.
Brilliant, man. You at first you started off giving a little helping hand to the NHS from your driveway, which is it's very honourable. It's a great thing, and I think also because you do it with passion, you know, it's picked up to the point where now you've got 4 nights in Acton, you've got 1 night in is it Chiswick? Did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great, man. And are you finding enjoyment and fulfillment in doing that?
Yeah, it's incredibly close to the series of feelings, emotions, and adrenaline that you get to performing music. You have the preparation, anticipation in the day, and then you get you're creating a product, whether it's edible or audible, which you're giving to an audience or customer.
You should set up a website, edible or audible.
Yeah.
My bass playing and my pizza.
Yeah. And you generally, especially now that I'm serving for customers who are eating in, you get immediate feedback on whether they've enjoyed your product.
Yeah.
Exactly the same as doing a gig and hearing applause. So there's a lot of kind of parallels with the feeling of enjoyment that you get from doing both those things. I've always been really into cooking and food. I ran a pop-up kind of jazz club / restaurant with a friend of mine who's a great chef for a few years, and at the beginning of this year was starting, before all this COVID stuff happened, I was starting to look for a way to bring myself into the food world somehow. I didn't really know how, as a way of supplementing those gigs instead of having to do those gigs. So I was actually I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I was going to just kind of jump in feet first and see what happened. So I have a family friend who we grew up on the same street in Shepherd's Bush, who works for a PR company. Actually, he just left and went in-house with Balance, the Balance restaurant group, which we have a couple next to Ronnie's. So I contacted him and said, could I do some sort of like internship or something and learn how to do this just as a, out of interest. So he hooked me up with a lady who runs Derby and Parrot, which is a restaurant PR company. And I think was it like a Friday or a Saturday that the lockdown actually happened?
It was a Tuesday.
Was it a Tuesday?
Because, well,
so I think I was due to. It was a Tuesday that it happened, so I was due to start on the Monday, the day before. But everyone kind of knew this isn't really going to happen. Yeah. So yeah, she sent me a message on the Sunday saying, "I guess we'll postpone this for a couple of weeks, see what happens here."
Couple of weeks, yeah.
So that ended up never happening. And what was a very strange circle of events. So I started off selling on my driveway, and I was not taking any money off people. I was giving away pizzas and asking that people donate £5 per pizza to the NHS charities. And then once things started to go a bit more, and I started doing pop-ups at Van den Ister in Acton, I got a phone call out of the blue from this lady, and she said, "Oh, I work for 84, the restaurant PR company, which my friend had used to work for. He'd just left." She said, "I live in Acton. I'm furloughed at the moment. I want to keep my contacts with the journalists, etc., and I'm looking to help local businesses some way. So, do you want some free PR?"
Fantastic, man.
So
that was in the Times, wasn't it?
No, that's a different.
That's another one.
That's a different.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so she left me a voicemail saying that. South African lady.
Okay. All right.
So I called her back and said, "Hey, I just got your message. Thanks for leaving that. Do you by any chance know Kit Mitchell-Innes?" And she said, "Yeah, we've worked together for years." It's like, I grew up on the same road as him. He did the PR for my
serendipity.
Yeah. So amazing, small world stuff. So she helped us with a few things when we were starting up doing the Van den Ister thing. And the Telegraph thing happened more recently. That I don't know how the guy found me. There's a column called Brave New World, and this guy Jack Rea, he is basically finding chefs and foodies who are doing some good in the world to help with the COVID situation. I think that's the general idea of it. Okay. So he somehow came across what I'd been doing and just dropped me an email saying, "I'd like to speak to you about that." Yeah, so he just called me up and we did a phone interview for 15 minutes or something. Yeah, that was lovely bit of
awesome
exposure.
It's awesome, man. It's just, it just kind of goes to show, when you do something that's close to your heart and something that you do with passion, it seems that a lot of the other things, I mean, it doesn't always work out that way, unfortunately, but every now and then people catch a break, and the reward is so much sweeter, when you do get the recognition for doing something else. And especially, I mean, you probably didn't think a year ago you're going to be selling pizzas.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd never made more than maybe 6 or 8 pizzas in a night, and then last Tuesday I did 100 in 2 hours.
Wow.
With help.
That's fantastic, man. That's really good. Yeah. And is it that little oven that you've got? Does that handle all the load? The gas oven.
I've got. I go through ovens very quickly.
I bet.
So I started off with an oven called Uni, which I'd had for a few years. I bought when we moved into a house with a garden. Mm-hmm. So the reason I started was they have Uni Day every year, which I think they persuade people to have a pizza party in their garden, and for however many pizzas people make, they will donate a bit to charity. I think it's a nice thing, and
that's
a publicity
very good thing
hand in hand.
And it's a great publicity thing as well. Yeah. Because I bet everybody's going to be posting Uni Day.
Yeah. So for this year, obviously, that was in at the beginning of May, and nobody was having people round to their houses, so they did a thing where they said, for every pizza that you make and give away to your neighbours or whatever, socially distanced, mm-hmm. we'll donate £1 to COVID relief charities. So that's why I decided to do it. I thought, mm-hmm. I've got an oven, and it was a couple of months in when there was a lot of fear. Everyone was kind of hiding. So the main thing, I wanted to feel a sense of community.
Bring people back out.
Yeah. So I decided to not charge. I asked that they donate £5 per pizza. What kind of heartless person wouldn't? Yeah. So I just people kept trying to bring me printouts and say, "Look, I did it." Like, I trust you. You're not going to not do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's fine.
You're here. You're enjoying the wares. So
yeah. So I did a month. I did a month of doing that, and then once I'd set up as a business and done all my hygiene, food hygiene.
I'm halfway through that at the moment.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, fun, isn't it?
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, got all the public liability insurance, etc., etc.
Yeah, we need to speak about that afterwards. Who are you using and things like that. Yeah, it's quite a lot of work.
Yeah, have you joined NCAS?
No, I'm in the process of doing that. I got a phone Ealing Council today because I'm going to be working with meat and game.
They're really strict on that.
It's going to be, but I mean, reading through it seems more like, I think because the options are so limited on the internet. You just say I'm going to be working with game, and then they automatically assume that I'm going to be working with carcasses. Like I'm going to be, stripping. I'm going to be processing the meat here, which is not the case. I mean, I get my venison from either my butcher, Hook and Cleaver. Fucking incredible, really. If you want some good meat, Hook and Cleaver. There's one in South Ealing. There's one in Patanga Lane. Either from them or from the online Scottish butcher called Donald Russell. Have you ever tried them?
No.
I'll post some links as well. These guys are fucking awesome. Everything arrives frozen with dry ice.
Yeah.
And they've got specials all the time. So I think the first time I made the venison sausage was over Christmas, and it works. So yeah, I got to get all those permits and things, but I got to call them and say, listen, if I get meat that's already processed, I just stuff them in a skin, and an intestine, and then that's that done. So yeah.
Any curing or sausaging, they're really strict on.
Yeah,
so I think just the fact that you're doing the biltong that's already at the highest risk. So it doesn't really matter what else you do, whether you do carcasses or not, I think.
Yeah,
but join NCAS, it's a couple of £100 a year, and they're so good. They'll send you all the documentation. You fill in and do all the risk assessments. It'll be printed out. You've got a binder. You've got everything. They're really good. You call up, they'll sort you out. You get the public liability insurance through them. Anything you need.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and there's you get a discount on it for being a member.
Amazing.
Everything's through them, and then you end up you end up with a binder that is everything you need. So when the guy comes around to inspect you, you just go, there you go.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out.
And that helps for due diligence.
That's what it's called. It says due diligence folder.
Yeah, because
easier to read.
It's is a risk. I mean, the products that I make are, they're all cured with, there's vinegar and there's salt and things. So, and I've been making biltong for years.
Yeah, I remember you bringing it in and giving me some.
Yeah, I mean, and it's honestly, it's such an easy thing to make, and it's so hard to fuck it up. I mean, back in the day when it started, what they would do is they would cut steaks, because how the whole thing originated was when.
What cut do you use?
Top side or silver side, yeah. I mean, you don't need rump steak, because it's going to get chewy anyway.
Yeah.
But when the Afrikaners tried to get away from the English, we did the big move where we all said, okay, you keep the coast, we'll go inland, we'll go see what's going on there. And obviously, with I think 80,000 people moving in a caravan with ox wagons and horses, going through rough terrain and harsh environments, they can't stop every day to hunt and feed everybody. And they didn't have fridges or anything, and Africa gets freaking hot, mate.
I've heard it
so they had to kind of come up with a way, and what they would do is they would cut the steaks and they would slap it on the horse's back under the saddle, and the sweat would cure the meat, and that's how they started. And then obviously they started refining it. They salted it as well, and they did other sorts of curing, but that's how they kind of did it.
The story of the hamburger as well.
Is it? Tell me the story about the hamburger.
I've heard some hamburger origin story about putting the meat under the saddle, and it tenderizes it over the day. Then it ends up that thin.
Oh, right. It's all possible. I mean, back in the day,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, when I lived in Italy, I made biltong in a cardboard box, and it turned out great. It's like I said, it's one of those things that's very robust. Unless you keep it in an enclosed area, you don't have danger of mold. And as you see, my upgrade, the fish tank, I cut some holes in the bottom. That was such a nice find. Our neighbor had just given this fish tank away.
Oh, really?
And it was a mess. It was I had to clean that thing for like 2 days.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that it's clean.
Yeah.
For myself and for others. It's one thing that's very important.
Yeah.
The last thing you want is any kind of bacteria or norovirus or shit like that.
If you're listening, EHO.
Yeah, we do things proper here, okay? Just so you know. I
do as well. My fridge is cleaned this morning.
Yeah, I was actually considering getting a second fridge in the kitchen that just does those things.
I've got the second fridge, which is all my stuff is just in that one.
That's
with a lock on it to keep the baby out.
Brilliant, yeah. She's just going to grab some dough.
And my wife from taking bits of salami all the time.
Brilliant, yeah. Do you where do you source your ingredients from? Do you get it from Puglia? Do you get some nduja from Calabria?
Up until now, I've been using a supplier called Salvo. There's 3 or 4 big Italian suppliers in the UK who do all the importing, and they so Salvo is great quality. It's probably the pricier of them all. So
got to pay for quality, man.
Yeah. And it's so I've just today I've got my first delivery arriving at some point now.
Okay.
From a new supplier, which is they've got a wider range of things, but I've never used it before, so it all comes slightly different. So I'll find out today. It's a different system. They just send me this giant booklet of this is what we've got. So when you go, I want some nduja, they've got 50 different types of nduja, and you're like, how do I know which one?
Give me the best one.
Well, yeah, I was just the guy who set up the account was very helpful. So I basically after a while of reading it, I was like, I'm just going to send him an email of what I want. So I just sent him, I need 2 kilos of andouille. I need this. You send me what you think is most appropriate, because I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
But they sell,
let's not go caviar, but either not dog food.
Yeah. But they sell everything, wine. It's like
all Italian products, or is it all European products?
Yeah, it's a specialty Italian thing.
Okay.
So
who are they?
It's called Carnevale.
Carnevale.
Yeah.
Right. Cool, man.
So that it's easiest for me to use those suppliers because I can do one big order every 2 weeks or something. Everything comes from the same place. It's all traceable to if I ever had any problems.
Yeah.
All of the stuff has come from them. They're very good at keeping records of where everything's been traced from. So it would just make life very simple. So and then I've got a couple of other suppliers for things which they don't sell. Like I use Chiswick chilies for the chili jam that I make, and stuff like that.
I'm looking forward to trying that at some stage, man.
Yeah, that's it. I just did a new batch of that this week. It's quite pokey.
Fantastic. I like myself a chili, you know that.
Yeah. Yeah, British
Brilliant.
people really like chilies. My mother-in-law, who's from Puglia, I made her a margarita once, and I ground some pepper on it, and she asked why it was so spicy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the level she's working at. And the other day I was making, so I had a big pot on the stove cooking down this chili jam, and it kind of looks just like tomatoes when you're cooking it down. She came and said, "Oh, what are you cooking? Is that tomatoes?" I was like, "Yeah, just have a taste." I gave her a spoon of it. She was running around the house like a cartoon character with steam coming out of her ears.
Oh my God!
She was
brilliant.
saying, "Who would put that on a pizza? Why would you do that?"
Because we're masochists.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it amused me.
For a long time, the world's hottest chili was grown in Dorset.
Yeah, Dorset Naga.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, they've surpassed that. The Carolina Reaper is a scorcher, mate.
Yeah.
1.4 million Scoville units.
Yeah. So unnecessary. But so when I started thinking I want to use local produce, etc., so I thought I'll do a pizza which is using produce from Chiswick. And I came across Chiswick chilies, so I contacted the lady Caitlin who runs it and said what I wanted to do. So I popped over to her house and she gave me some samples of this chili jelly.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I was going to use that, but it kind of melts if you put it on.
Okay.
And she said, "Oh, I've got this jar of habanero mash. It's not something I sell, but I made it. It's habanero and garlic fermented together."
Nice.
She gave me that. I got home and just a drop on the tip of my tongue and my whole mouth went numb.
Great.
It's really strong stuff. So I make this chili jam with it, and I make 8 like jam jar size jars worth using just less than 1 teaspoon of chili.
Fantastic.
And it's hot. So I keep advertising, I'm using Chiswick chili stuff, and then I send her a private message on Instagram saying, "I promise I'm still using it. It's just so strong that I'm still using that same jar you gave me."
You just made it too good.
Yeah.
Too good. Oh, brilliant, man. Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think it's probably something that we need to have a look at more, is sourcing locally, buying locally.
The world is going to change so much because of this, and some things for the better. I think people now are going to travel less. They're going to be in their local area, and for me, what is so exciting about doing this is feeling like I'm part of a community and contributing, giving nutrition and enjoyment to the community. That's what is interesting about it to me. And I think it's gonna be going that way a lot more with small local businesses
hopefully
being supported
really
more
so.
by people.
I hope so, because I mean, unfortunately, you've seen a lot of mom and pops shut down, and you've seen a lot of smaller businesses getting pushed out by the conglomerates. But I think if we work towards. I mean, you're working towards it, and I see here in Hanwell as well. People are very supportive of local business and things like that, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, so if we can focus on that and get, because really you got to act globally, you got to think locally sometimes. You know, you got to start at home.
Yeah.
Make those changes at home, and then hopefully, you know, it's infectious enough.
Yeah.
With an R rate of 3 to get people to, you know, to kind of jump in there. Yeah, it's just a great thing, man. And I'm, you know, I see what you're doing, and I have to be honest with you. You have been a huge inspiration to me. In this
good.
time with especially now when I'm starting with the biltong and things. I think it's you know, it's just that infectiousness of, you know, and producing food is a different beast, isn't it? You know, like you said, you've got that. You can compare it to music because you get, especially when you serve people in the moment rather than takeaways and things, you see that enjoyment straight away.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of enjoyment and self-fulfillment that you get from that.
Getting that feedback is so kind of heartwarming, and it spurs you on to keep doing it.
Yeah, man.
I had a guy on Tuesday said, "This is the best pizza I've ever had, and it's probably in the top 3 in the world." I'm just going to say that because I haven't tried them all.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's a strange way to give someone a compliment.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'll take it.
Whatever it is, I'll take it. You know, backhanded, whatever, you know, even deflected. It's fine. It's good. I'll take it. Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's nice. Oh, man. I am aware that we are under time constraints, and we are kind of getting to the end. You've got to leave in a little bit.
I've got to go and tend to my balls.
Go tend to your balls. Yeah, Tim's balls has got to be rolled out and squeezed a little bit, you know, just to get the best pizza. I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much for being here, and I will be posting links to all your social media and stuff, and to Zio Tim's pop-up and stuff like that, and then we can get, you know, the 3 people that are going to watch this.
they can all come down.
They can all come down.
All 3 of you. Yeah. We've got space.
There'll be space for all of you. Yeah. Thank you for coming and agreeing to doing this.
Yeah.
And you know, onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
More jazz.
Yes, sir.
Well, there you have it. I hope you've all enjoyed that as much as I have. I will be linking to Tim's social media in the description, as I will do mine, as always. I have a Patreon page. I know times are tough, but if you want to support the podcast, you can do so there at patreon.com/HeySoundGuy, and you can help the cause there. As always, please like, share, subscribe, get the word out there. Keep it sound.